conditions. We'll talk about that, whether that will change your mind about it, whether you want to stand in the line. Let me know. 061 766 0355. WhatsApp, text, or voice notes. Also comments on the discussions we've had around Palestine and Israel. Most welcome, as well as comments about whether you're having a rethink about your eat plans in the light of the ongoing rising numbers around COVID-19. Okay, let's get another take on this from we had an ANC representative earlier on, but Chief Mandla, also an ANC MP, but he has strong views on Palestine. Let's get his take on it. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for your time.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm very good. I'm of course very disturbed. It's like I'm fine, but I'm not fine. How can we be fine with this ongoing problem, right? So to say you don't like what's happening, I think is obvious. The bigger issue is like, what happens now?
Ashraf, I think for us, particularly as South Africans, we need to draw a line in the sand here. There's been many petitions put. There's been many marches. It's about high time that we ought to start exerting pressure on our government to cut all economic ties and trade with Israel, apartheid, and we need to ensure that we call for sanctions as civil rights activists, as well as NGOs and unions and all political parties, that we can be able to rally behind the cause of the Palestinian people. We need to ensure that our government takes a strong stance against Apartheid Israel. I mean, this has been gross violations of human rights we've witnessed over the past few days. And I think one of the biggest issue that for us has been is the total disregard of human beings. I mean, you look at the attack which we saw at Al-Aqsa. Many are speaking of it as being a clash, and it's saddening, even the words that have been used to draw out what we've been witnessing. And this has been a total unprovoked and brutal attack on innocent people, including elderly mothers and fathers and children, whilst they were praying in Al-Aqsa precinct. And this is not a clash which is an extension of the Zionist occupation that we are seeing. And we are certain from where we seated that they will not relent until they have annexed the whole of Al-Aqsa, East Jerusalem, and the entire West Bank. And I think we as South Africans need to take a strong stand to send a message to Apartheid Israel, because we've seen that it has no regard for the sanctity of the mosques of Al-Aqsa or the sacred month of Ramadan.
But here's the question. Here's the question: when we say send a strong message to them, I mean, clearly that message is not working, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is why I say, as South Africans, we need to exert pressure on our very own government. I mean, if you look at during our darkest days of a struggle for our liberation, we were able to have the entire global community, through the solidarity movement as well as the non-alignment movement, countries were able to rally behind their governments and exert pressure on their governments to levy sanctions against apartheid South Africa. And I think it is about high time we start doing that and calling for sanctions against Israel.
Well, I spoke to Minister Lindiwe Zulu earlier on, reflecting the official ANC position, and of course they've downgraded the embassies, but no diplomatic ties have been cut off, right? I mean, you're part of the same organization. You're an MP there. What do you feel about it?
I mean, some of us are thinking and are seeing the state machinery and even that of the organization that in the majority party, the African National Congress, is moving at a snail pace. And we need to pick up the tempo a little because it is been an ongoing stance that we're saying we've downgraded. It's not downgrading that we are calling for. We want to cut ties with Apartheid Israel. This is what the majority of South Africans that are behind the Palestinian solidarity campaign are calling for. We can't be continuously supporting a brutal regime that continues meting out atrocities against defenseless elderly mothers, women, and children in particular. So we have to be ensuring that, like we were able to enjoy international support during our darkest days of the struggle for liberation, we ought to ensure that we lead by example as well and ensure we rally behind the Palestinians, particularly at this time when they need us most.
All right, so I want to separate the two between, general activism amongst the citizenry of South Africa. There are many groups that are very, very outspoken on it, including yourself specifically. But I want to just stay with, with the ANC for the moment, or government, right? What more do you think government should be doing?
I mean, we will have to take up this at DECO level and as well as the presidency level, where government, for example, look at the Palestinians having to come to South Africa are subjected to being able to apply for visas. Yet the Israelis are not subjected to that. And we, as a state and as government, proclaim that we stand fully behind the supporting the Palestinians.
Do you think? Do you think, therefore, there are forces at play, even in South Africa, where the government and the ANC are very on side regarding Israel? There are forces at play that prevents them from going all the way to do exactly what they want. What I'm saying, is there pressure from elsewhere?
We cannot be blind to that. I mean, the Israeli lobby in South Africa is very strong, particularly within the South African Judiciary Council. We should be able to ensure that we look into that and what is their role. I mean, it was shocking for us activists and people behind the Palestinian solidarity campaign to see them at the 54th National Conference of the ANC in Nazareth, that they were extended an invitation as the South African Jewish Board of Deputies. And yet we want to take a strong line saying that we need support of the Palestinian cause. But also at a governmental level, we are extending traffic rights to El Al, which is an Israeli carrier coming into South Africa. And these are things that even the Department of Transport ought to be looking into.
Yeah. When you say Jewish lobby, I would say, you could may call it a Jewish lobby, but ultimately it's a pro-Zionist lobby as opposed to people of the Jewish faith, which I think they are absolutely right. Who's listening to that Zionist lobby in South Africa?
We haven't really fingered it at the moment to truly exercise as to where it is being directed. And I think as activists, we need to look into that and to look at what is actually at play. Where is this pressure being coming from that is being exerted on party and on government?
Well,
so that we can be able to address that.
Okay, that's a story we need to cover and find out if we know exactly who's listening to that lobby, a very unholy alliance considering South Africa or the apartheid, or rather South Africa government and the ANC position regarding what's happened in Palestine and Israel all through these years. Well, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. And let me also take the opportunity of wishing you well over the last few days of Ramadan, and Eid Mubarak to you and your family as well.
Eid Mubarak to you too.
Thank you so much. There you are, Mandla Mandela, a member of the ANC, but giving a slightly different take to what Lindiwe Zulu said, which I think is really interesting. Either way, something has to be done. Something is being done regarding Saudi Arabia with regard to Hajj and Umrah. Let's say Hajj in particular, because that happens imminently, like 2 months after Ramadan. We'll talk about that in a moment.
The COVID-19